The Acts of the Apostles. The Acts of the Apostles is the fifth book of the New Testament of the Roman Catholic Bible. It can be enjoyed at any time. The Acts of the Apostles dates from between 62 to 64 AD. The Acts of the Apostles, read by David Battistella. The Acts of the Apostles, chapter 22. Men, brethren, and fathers, hear ye the account which I now give unto you. And when they heard that he spoke to them in the Hebrew tongue, they kept the more silence. And he saith, I am a Jew, born at Tarsus in Cilicia, brought up in this city at the feet of Gamaliel, taught according to the truth of the law of the fathers, zealous for the law, as also of you are this day, who persecuted this way unto death, binding and delivering into prisons both men and women, as the high priest doth bear me witness, and all the ancients, from whom also receiving letters to the brethren, I went to Damascus, that I might bring them bound from thence to Jerusalem to be punished. And it came to pass, as I was going and drawing nigh to Damascus, at midday, that suddenly from heaven there shone round about me a great light. And falling on the ground, I heard a voice saying to me, Saul, Saul, why persecutest thou me? And I answered, Who art thou, Lord? And he said to me, I am Jesus of Nazareth, whom thou persecutest. And they that were with me saw indeed the light, but they heard not the voice of him that spoke with me. And I said, What shall I do, Lord? And the Lord said to me, Arise and go to Damascus, and there it shall be told of thee of all things that thou must do. And whereas I did not see for the brightness of that light, being led by my hand by companions, I came to Damascus. And one Ananias, a man according to the law, having testimony of all the Jews who dwelt there, coming to me and standing by me, said to me, Brother Saul, look up. And at the same hour I looked upon him. But he said, The God of our fathers has preordained thee that thou shouldst know his will, and see the just one, and shouldst hear the voice from his mouth. For thou shalt be his witness to all men of those things which thou hast seen and heard. And now why tarriest thou? Rise up and be baptized, and wash away thy sins, invoking his name. And it came to pass, when I was come again to Jerusalem, and was praying in the temple, that I was in a trance, and saw him saying unto me, Make haste, and get thee quickly out of Jerusalem, because they will not receive thy testimony concerning me. And I said, Lord, they know that I cast into prison and beat in every synagogue them that believed in thee. And when the blood of Stephen thy witness was shed, I stood by and consented, and I kept the garments of him that killed him. And he said to me, Go, for unto the Gentiles afar off I will send thee. And they heard him until his word, and then lifted up their voice, saying, Away with such an one from the earth, for it is not fit that he should live. And as they cried out, and threw off their garments, and cast dust into the air, the tribune commanded him to be brought into the castle, that he should be scourged and tortured, to know for what cause they did so cry out against him. And when they bound him with thongs, Paul saith to the centurion that stood by him, Is it lawful for you to scourge a man that is a Roman and uncondemned? Which the centurion hearing went to the tribune and told him, saying, What art thou about to do? For this man is a Roman citizen. And the tribune coming said to him, Tell me, art thou a Roman? But he said, Yea. And the tribune answered, I obtained the being free of this city with a great sum. And Paul said, But I was born so. Immediately therefore they departed from him that were about to torture him. The tribune also was afraid, after he understood that he was a Roman citizen, and because he had bound him. But on the next day, meaning to know more diligently for what cause he was accused by the Jews, he loosed him and commanded the priests to come together, all the council, and, bringing forth Paul, he set him before them. The Acts of the Apostles, chapter 23. And Paul, looking upon the council, said, Men, brethren, I have conversed with all good conscience before God until this present day. And the high priest Ananias commanded them that stood by him to strike him on the mouth. Then Paul said to him, God shall strike thee, thou whited wall? For sittest thou to judge me according to the law, and contrary to the law, commandest me to be struck? And they that stood by said, Dost thou revile the high priest of God? And Paul said, I knew not, brethren, that he is the high priest. For it is written, Thou shalt not speak evil of the prince of thy people. And Paul, knowing that one part were Sadducees and the other Pharisees, cried out in the council, Men, brethren, I am a Pharisee, the son of Pharisees. Concerning the hope and resurrection of the dead I am called in question. And when he had so said, there arose dissension between the Pharisees and the Sadducees, and the multitude was divided. For the Sadducees say that there is no resurrection, neither angel nor spirit, but the Pharisees confess both. And there arose a great cry, and some of the Pharisees rising up strove, saying, We find no evil in this man. What if a spirit hath spoken to him, or an angel? And then, when there arose a great dissension, the tribune, fearing lest Paul should be pulled by pieces by them, commanded the soldiers to go down and take him by force from among them, and bring him into the castle. And the night following, the Lord, standing by him, said, Be constant, for as thou hast testified of me in Jerusalem, so must thou bear witness also in Rome. And when the day was come, some of the Jews gathered together and bound themselves under a curse, saying that they would neither eat nor drink till they killed Paul. And they were more than 40 men that had made this conspiracy, who came to the chief priests and the ancients and said, We have bound ourselves under a great curse that we will eat nothing till we have slain Paul. Now therefore do you with counsel signify to the tribune that he bring him forth to you, as if you meant to know something more certain touching him. And we, before he come near, are ready to kill him. Which when Paul's sister had heard of her lying in wait, he came and entered into the castle and told Paul. And Paul, calling to him one of the centurions, said, Bring this young man to the tribune, for he hath something to tell them. And he, taking him, brought him to the tribune, and said, Paul, the prisoner, desired me to bring this young man unto thee, who hath something to say to thee. And the tribune, taking him by the hand, went aside with him privately, and asked him, What is it that thou hast to tell me? And he said, The Jews have agreed to desire thee that thou wouldst bring forth Paul tomorrow into the council, as if they meant to inquire something more certain touching him. But do not thou give credit to them, for there lie in wait for him more than 40 men of them, who have bound themselves by oath neither to eat nor to drink till they have killed him. And they are now ready, looking for a promise from thee. The tribune therefore dismissed the young man, charging him that he should tell no man that he had made known these things unto them. Then, having called 2 centurions, he said to them, Make ready 200 soldiers to go as far as Caesarea, and 70 horsemen and 200 spearmen, for the 3rd hour of the night. And provide beasts, that they may set Paul on and bring him safe to Felix, the governor. For he feared lest perhaps the Jews might take him away by force and kill him, and he should afterwards be slandered, as if he was to take money. And he wrote a letter after this manner. Claudius Lysias to the most excellent governor Felix, greeting. This man, being taken by the Jews and ready to be killed by them, I rescued, coming in with an army, understanding that he is a Roman. And meaning to know the cause which they objected unto him, I brought him forth into their council, whom I found to be accused concerning questions of their law, but having nothing laid to his charge worthy of death or of bands. And when I was told of ambushes that they prepared for him, I sent him to thee, signifying also to his accusers to plead before thee. Farewell. Then the soldiers, according as it was commanded them, taking Paul, brought him by night to Antipatris. And the next day, leaving the horsemen to go with him, they returned to the castle, who, when they were come to Caesarea and had delivered the letter to the governor, did also present Paul before him. And when he had read it, and had asked of what province he was, and understood that he was of Cilicia, I will hear thee, he said, when thy accusers come. And he commanded them to be kept in Herod's judgment hall. The Acts of the Apostles, chapter 24. And after 5 days the high priest Ananias came down with some ancients and one Tertullius, an orator, who went with the governor against Paul. And being called for, Titurius began to accuse him, saying, Whereas though thee we live in much peace, and many things are rectified by thy providence, we accept it always and at all places, most excellent Felix, with all thanksgiving. But that I be no further tedious to thee, I desire thee thy clemency to hear us in a few words. We have found this to be a pestilent man, and raising seditions among all the Jews throughout the world, and author of the sedition of the sect of Nazarenes, who also hath gone about to profane the temple, whom we having apprehended, would also have judged according to our law. But Lysias, the tribune, coming upon us with great violence, took him away out of our hands, commanding his accusers to come to thee, of whom thou mayest thyself by examination have knowledge of all these things whereof we accuse him. And the Jews also added and said that these things were so. Then Paul answered, the governor making a sign to him to speak. Knowing that for many years thou hast been judge over this nation, I will with good courage answer for myself. For thou mayest understand that there are yet but 12 days since I went up to adore in Jerusalem, and neither in the temple did they find me disputing with any man or causing any concourse of the people, neither in the synagogues nor in the city. Neither can they prove unto thee the things whereof they now accuse me. But this I confess to thee, that according to the way which they call a heresy, so do I serve the Father and my God, believing all things which are written in the law and the prophets, having hope in God, which these also themselves look for, that there shall be a resurrection of the just and unjust. And herein I do endeavor to have always a conscience without offense towards God and towards men. Now, after many years, I came to bring alms to my nation and offering vows, in which I was found purified in the temple, neither with multitude nor with tumult. But certain Jews of Asia, who ought to be present before thee and to accuse, if they had anything against me, or let these men themselves say if they found in me any iniquity when standing before the council, except it be for this one voice only that I cried, standing among them, concerning the resurrection of the dead, I am judged this day by you. And Felix put them off, having most certain knowledge of this way, saying, When Lysias the tribune shall come down, I will hear you. And he commanded a centurion to keep him, and that he should be easy, and that he should not prohibit any of his friends to minister unto him. And after some days, Felix, coming with Drusilla his wife, who was a Jew, sent for Paul, and heard of him the faith that is in Christ Jesus. And as he treated of justice and chastity and of the judgment to come, Felix, being terrified, answered, For this time go thy way, but when I have convenient time I will send for thee. Hoping also withal that money should be given him by Paul, for which cause also oftentimes sending for him he spoke with him. But when 2 years were ended, Felix had for successor Porcius Festus, and Felix, being willing to shew the Jews a pleasure, left Paul bound. The Acts of the Apostles, chapter 25. Now when Festus was come into the province after 3 days, he went up to Jerusalem from Caesarea, and the chief priests and principal men of the Jews went unto him against Paul, and they besought him, requesting favor against him, that he would command him to be brought to Jerusalem, laying wait to kill him in the way. Festus answered that Paul was kept in Caesarea, and that he himself would very shortly depart thither. Let them therefore, saith he, among you that are able, go down with me and accuse him, if there be any crime in the man. And having tarried among them no more than 8 or 10 days, he went down to Caesarea. And the next day he sat in the judgment seat and commanded Paul to be brought. Who, being brought, the Jews stood about him, who were come down from Jerusalem, objecting many and grievous causes, which they could not prove. Paul, making answer for himself, neither against the law of the Jews, nor against the temple, nor against Caesar, have I offended in any thing. But Festus, willing to shew the Jews a pleasure, answering Paul, said, Wilt thou go up to Jerusalem, and there be judged of these things before me? Then Paul said, I stand at Caesar's judgment seat, where I ought to be judged. To the Jews I have done no injury, as thou very well knowest. For if I have injured them, or I have committed anything worthy of death, I refuse not to die. But if there be none of these things whereof they accuse me, no man may deliver me to them. I appeal to Caesar. Then Festus, having conferred with the council, answered, Hast thou appealed to Caesar? To Caesar thou shalt go. And after some days, King Agrippa and Bernice came down to Caesarea to salute Festus. And as they tarried there many days, Festus told the king of Paul, saying, A certain man was left prisoner by Felix, about whom, when I was at Jerusalem, the chief priests and the ancients of the Jews came unto me, desiring condemnation against him. To whom I answered, It is not the custom of the Romans to condemn any man, before that he who is accused have his accusers present, and have liberty to make his answer, to clear himself of the things laid to his charge. When therefore they were come hither, without any delay, on the day following, sitting in the judgment seat, I commanded the man to be brought. Against whom, when the accusers stood up, they brought no accusation of this which I thought ill of, but had certain questions of their own superstition against him, and of one Jesus deceased, whom Paul affirmed to be alive. I, therefore, being in doubt of this manner of question, asked him whether he would go to Jerusalem and there be judged of these things. But Paul, appealing to be reserved unto the hearing of Augustus, I commanded him to be kept till I might send him to Caesar. And Agrippa said to Festus, I would also hear the man myself. Tomorrow, said he, thou shalt hear him. And on the next day, when Agrippa and Bernice were come with great pomp, and he had entered into the hall of the audience with the tribunes and the principal men of the city, at Festus's commandment Paul was brought forth. And Festus said, King Agrippa, and all ye men who are here present with us, you see this man, about whom all the multitude of the Jews dealt with me at Jerusalem, requesting and crying out that he ought not to live any longer. Yet I have found nothing that he hath committed worthy of death, but forasmuch as he himself hath appealed to Augustus, I have determined to send him, of whom I have nothing certain to write to my Lord, for which cause I have brought him forth before you, and especially before thee, O King Agrippa, that, examination being made, I may have what to write. For it seemeth to me unreasonable to send a prisoner and not signify the things laid to his charge. You've been listening to The Acts of the Apostles, read by David Battistella.